Hello again, friends, and welcome to Gamecock Central Radio. Emerson Phillips with Gamecock legend Kip Bouknight. Kip won the Golden Spikes Award back in 2000, and he joins us each week here on Gamecock Central Radio to talk Gamecock baseball. Kip, 6 consecutive SEC Series losses now for the Gamecocks after Carolina dropped 2 out of 3 at LSU this past weekend. Carolina actually won Game 1 3-2, held on to win a tight ball game there. Tyler Johnson closed it out for the Gamecock win, but then a 5-2 LSU victory on Saturday and a disappointing 7-6 LSU win in 10 innings yesterday, a game that was marred by what a lot of Gamecock fans felt like was a bad call in the 8th inning. Wanted to get your thoughts on the series now, Kip. Carolina 27-19 overall and 11-13 in SEC play.
Well, obviously having 6 losses, 6 consecutive series losses is pretty amazing. And it's hard to find a lot of positives with that. But with that being said, the one positive thing South Carolina does have is they've got 3 midweek games left that they should win all 3 of those games if they show up and play and play well. And they've got 2 SEC opponents in Missouri and Georgia that are at the bottom of the barrel in the SEC. And South Carolina should expect to win both of those series, and quite frankly, if they play really well, they have every opportunity to sweep them. So if they do that, if they can go 8-1 in their last 9 games, and or even 9-0, I think they're in the tournament. I really do. I think they'd be a couple games above 500. They'd be right where they needed to be in the SEC. But now, with the way they scuffled, it's hard to say there's a win against anybody. And they've got to just move forward and pick the pieces up and try to continue to fight and claw. And I do think the kids are trying. Good gosh, I think they're trying their hardest. I feel bad for the players because a lot of things have not went their way, but for whatever reason, it's definitely been a struggle here the last 6 weeks.
Kip, the Gamecocks have played the second hardest schedule in the country. They've got a number of wins over teams that are in the RPI top 50. We talked about it last week. Carolina traditionally plays one of the toughest schedules in the country, and in years past, they've had a lot of success against a very difficult schedule. This year, a lot of the close games are not going the Gamecocks' way, and that was the case this past weekend in Baton Rouge. So what do you think the difference is this year, Kit? Why isn't Carolina winning close games? They've lost a number of one-run games, particularly in conference play this year. And give the Gamecocks a grade for the weekend, Kip. This series at LSU, A through F, what kind of grade do you give South Carolina losing 2 out of 3 at LSU over the weekend?
I think B-. I think it was a weekend that really should have been an A-. I think they should have won 2 out of 3. They usually should have won that game Sunday. And I think they're 6-9 now in one-run games. And even if you just turned the page and made that 9-6, what a difference that would make in this season. I mean, I'm looking at our record, and at this point in the season, if we were 5 games better, and that doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot. If we were 5 games better, we would be talking about still the opportunity to finish strong and host a regional. Now that's virtually out of the question, I think, unless they just play maybe all the way till Saturday in the SEC tournament and finish really strong these last 2 SEC weekend series. But to point a finger, I mean, it's a combination of a lot of things, Emerson. I mean, you've got a team that's hitting, I think, 260 on the season, maybe 240 in conference play. One guy in the lineup sitting over 300. I mean, if I'm facing South Carolina as an opposing pitcher, there's just not much. There's not much threat there. So that makes things difficult. So that puts more pressure on the pitching staff, and the pitching staff was supposed to be one of the strong parts to this team. And some may argue, well, Kip, look at their stats. Their stats are great. The pitching, is good, but it's about wins and losses. I mean, it's about having. I mean, I think back to some of the players we have that I played with. Johnny Matt Henrys and Brian Jeffcoat, guys that, might hit 260, 280, maybe even 300, but they did the little things. We're not getting bunts down when we need to. We're not advancing on balls in the dirt. Our base running has been atrocious. I mean, we've gotten probably more guys thrown out at home plate than I can ever remember. We're not reading the ball off the bat very well, as coaches and as players. I mean, we're getting guys thrown out just way too much, defending some innings and are making a first or third out at home or third base, and it's putting a lot of pressure on our guys. So it's really making our pitching staff, especially at the back end of the bullpen, have to go out and be perfect. And unfortunately, they've not made pitches when they needed to, and things have not turned out well for them.
So the Gamecocks have played 46 games this year. 28 of those have been against teams that are ranked in the top 25, and the Gamecocks are 12-16 in those ball games. So the 12 wins against ranked teams is the fourth highest total in the SEC this year, Kip. You know, just last week we were talking here on Gamecock Central Radio about the fact that a segment of the fan base has called for Chad Holbrook's job this year, changes to the staff, whether it's Holbrook or assistants or clean house, you know, whatever the argument it is, there is a segment of the fan base that has started to talk about this. Is that overreaction?
Well, no, I don't think so. From a fan's perspective, I do not think so. I think the fans have every right to want the best for their program, and quite frankly, you know, I was listening to 107.5 The Game earlier, and Tommy talking, and they were just, you know, it's kind of sad that we're thinking about having to play Missouri and Georgia, and we're hoping we can win those series. Those are series that South Carolina, this schedule talk is not making me sick. I mean, the schedule's tough every year. It was tough when we won national championships. But what South Carolina has lost, for whatever reason, is a little bit of an intimidation factor and a little bit of a hunger, in my opinion, and the expectancy of the players. The players have to expect. They should go out. You know, when last week I think we beat Wofford 9-5. I would have absolutely been chewing our pitchers out, giving up 5 runs to Wofford. I mean, Wofford, we're supposed to beat them 10-0. I mean, somebody go out and throw a complete game shutout. Somebody go out on Friday night and beat, you know, Kentucky or Alabama or Arkansas or whoever we're playing. Somebody go out and throw up a gem. And we're just not seeing that. I just think that it's really tough. You know, I've talked about this before, Emerson. When you become the hunted, that's a different scenario than being the hunter. And South Carolina, you know, the years I was there, we were the hunter. We were hungry. We did not have a reputation. I'll never forget Ray Center telling us, guys, if you want respect, you got to go out and earn it. You got to go out and beat these teams. And we had to do that. And until my junior year, we didn't get any respect whatsoever. We were 500 in the SEC my sophomore year, and we did not make the SEC tournament. I mean, we did not make the playoffs, the NCAA playoffs. So, you know, you fast forward a couple years now, and we could be 500 in the SEC. Well, will we make it? I think we will, based on reputation, based on, you know, what South Carolina's program is now. But our players right now, and even our coaches, we've got to go out and we've got to expect to win it. Yeah, I would have no doubt in my mind, if I'm Chad Holbrook, that I would tell my team, guys, listen, we go out and do what we're supposed to do. We're winning every single game we play the rest of the season until we get to the SEC tournament. We're supposed to beat those guys. And it's a little bit different. You get guys that are 18 years old coming in, and they're big shots, and, you know, they think that time they get on campus, everything's just going to be hunky-dory, but they've got to still work hard, and they got to play hungry. And I just think that, unfortunately, we've been, you know, nail-bitten a little bit and shell-shocked, if you will. We've lost a couple tough games, but that's when it comes down to senior leadership and leadership from your manager and your leader. And unfortunately, this year we just haven't had that.
Only 4 teams in the SEC right now with a worse conference record than the Gamecocks. South Carolina 11-13 in the league. And right now it's Alabama at 5-19, Georgia 7-17, Tennessee is 7-15, and Missouri is 9-15. So we've got 9 games left in the regular season. We got 2 midweek games this week. Tuesday night, 7:00 start at Founders Park against Presbyterian College, and then Wednesday night, Liberty comes to town for another 7:00 start. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the Gamecocks are at Missouri. We'll have a 7:30 start Friday, 3:00 start Saturday, 2 p.m. Sunday. And then next week, USC Upstate in the middle of the week, and the final series of the regular season at home against the Georgia Bulldogs. Gamecock Central Radio with Kip Bouknight. I'm Emerson Phillips. You can download the Gamecock Central Radio app on the App Store and on Google Play. To subscribe to our podcast, search for Gamecock Central Radio. You'll find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and other popular services, or just visit radio.GamecockCentral.com. SEC updated standings right now. In the East, Florida's in first at 16-8. Kentucky's 15-9. Vanderbilt 12-11, followed by the Gamecocks in fourth at 11-13. Then it's Missouri 9-15. Tennessee 7-15. Georgia 7-17. And over in the West, Mississippi State 16-8. LSU 15-9. Arkansas 14-9. Texas A&M 14-10. Auburn 14-10. Ole Miss, same record as the Gamecocks, 11-13, and Alabama with the worst record in the league at 5-19 in conference play. So, Kip, a couple of midweek games this week, PC and Liberty, Tuesday and Wednesday. Then the road trip, long trip out to Missouri against a Missouri team that lost their first game of the season. Then they ripped off like 20 straight wins, but they've come back down to earth since then, 9-15 in the league. And, I heard talk on the radio this morning that the Gamecocks might be on the tournament bubble. Do you think the Gamecocks are on the NCAA tournament bubble?
Absolutely. I think 100%. I think they've got, at worst, they go 7-2 the last 9 games, and I still think they might have to win a game or two in the SEC tournament. They can't afford to lose a midweek game tomorrow, Wednesday, or next week, and I think they need to go at least 4-2 to win both of those series to have a good fighting chance. And, they and I'm sure Chad Holbrook will be the first to admit, if they don't do that, then they don't deserve to be in. They don't. And it's just really frustrating and tough because you look at it, there's been 4 or 5 games easy that we've, some would say we feel like we have given away. Well, if we flip those games, we'd be sitting at 15 wins in the Southeastern Conference right now with 6 to go. And you'd be talking about potentially hosting a regional. So that's the tough part about this is it feels so bad right now, but that's the message you have to be telling your players in the dugout in the locker room. And I'm sure Chad Holbrook's doing that. As guys, listen, we've been snake bitten. We've had 4, 5, 6, 7 losses that, you know what, we win those games normally, but we haven't this year. It hadn't happened. Let's go out and let's win these last ones. Let's figure out a way to make it happen and win these tight games. And that's all you can do. That's all you can do as a coach. That's all you can do as a player. I think fans have a right to be upset, but the players have got to focus on what they can control. They cannot control whether a fan is happy with them or sad with them. Fans come and go. Your family, your teammates, they'll be there forever. And the players have to remember that. And that's a tough thing for a young person to learn, especially with the media these days, especially with social media. It's tough. I wouldn't watch a bit of it. I can remember when I was in school and even playing in professional baseball. The fans come and go, man. You could have 4 or 5 straight starts in a row that are really, really good. You struggle in one, and next thing you know, if you're reading papers and reading message boards and everything else, they're not going to be behind you. It is what it is. That's the way sports are, and fans have a right to complain and they have a right to cheer. So you can't let that affect who you are as a person and who you are as a player.
Kip, before we started today's podcast, you shared an interesting item with me about the way the Gamecocks have managed their bullpen, specifically in the series against LSU this weekend, and I wanted to get you to share that with our listeners. You noticed something, just the way the bullpen was being managed in the late innings, that caused you to question it.
Well, yeah, and again, I'm not a coach. I'm not a player. I'm a former player, and I do have an opinion. So, I'm watching the game, and I'm wondering, Tyler Johnson, I feel like, is our closer. Well, on Friday night, it's 3-2, and he's got 10 pitches, and there's a runner on. And we've got double barrel action in the bullpen. We've got 2 righties warming up to throw in the bullpen. And for the life of me, I'm going, okay, I thought Tyler Johnson was our closer. He's either going to win this game for us or he's going to lose this game for us, period. The only logical conclusion I could come up with was maybe they were getting somebody ready in case, he gives it up. And it becomes a tie game and his pitch count gets up high or he gives up the lead. And they want to get him out of there so they could still salvage his weekend for Saturday and Sunday. But then on Sunday, same scenario, 8th inning, and we've got 2 guys warming up in the bullpen with Tyler Johnson with a 1-run lead. I am. I'm questioning that, going, what are we doing? I mean, I thought Tyler Johnson, a guy that could throw 100 miles an hour, and I know he wasn't as sharp, but, I know as a player, I mean, if I'm Tyler Johnson, hopefully he takes that and it pisses him off and he says, well, screw y'all, I'm going to go out and get this done. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. I mean, we end up bringing in, someone else, and I think it was John Park, and they end up giving it up. So at this point in the season, I felt like we should know who our closer is and let him go out and do his job, whether he saves it or doesn't save it. I think Tyler Johnson certainly earned that, and I definitely thought that was rather odd.
Kip, does it speak to the mindset, of the ball club? You bring your closer in, the bullpen should be empty. His job is to close the game, and having guys warming up with your number one closer out there is just not a winning mindset. Is that fair to say?
I don't know. I really don't know. It's for me, with my experience in playing, it's not the right mindset. I don't know what to call it. I really don't. I mean, that would be a question I think that Chad Holbrook and Jerry Myers would have to answer. I really have no idea. And again, they may have a very valid answer. And, there's things I don't know. Maybe Tyler was tender. Maybe he was not feeling good. I don't know. Maybe he was puking in the dugout for all I know. I don't know.
Right.
I just know what I see, and I go, that's not right. And for it to happen 2 times in a weekend, in both scenarios where I'm going, okay, he hasn't labored. It's not like he's thrown too many pitches. I know they're trying to be protective, and I appreciate that. I do. I think that's awesome that they're trying to be protective of him and his future. But that is certainly questionable at best.
Certainly not trying to split hairs here or be overly critical, but I thought that was an interesting observation on your part. So we got PC Tuesday night, 7 o'clock at Founders Park. Liberty Wednesday night at 7, also at Founders Park. And then 3 games at Missouri this weekend, 7:30 Friday, 3 o'clock Saturday, 2 p.m. Sunday. Getting down to crunch time for the Gamecocks, and if they want to get off the tournament bubble, they're going to have to take care of business. Kip Bouknight, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Emerson.
All right, that's Kip Bouknight, and I'm Emerson Phillips. We'll come back next week. We'll take a look back at the week's action. 5 games this week here, and the big 3-game series at Missouri coming up this weekend. So we'll be back next week to talk about it here on Gamecock Central Radio. Thanks for joining us.